The Mahogany Project presents I Just Want to Tell Stories, hosted by Joe Anderson Jr., powered by the South Congress Podcast Network.
Hello everyone, welcome to episode 6 of I Just Want to Tell Stories. My name is Joe Anderson from the Mahogany Project, and today I have the busiest woman in goddamn Austin, Mr. TellTales himself. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
You know, you are the only person who I truly believe is busy. Truly believe.
Why you say that? Like,
girl, because you know some of these girls be like, oh, I'm so busy. They're not busy. They're not busy and they're not booked. So, no shade. But it's true. Mm-hmm. You are really, really busy and you're really, really booked. I'm surprised we can make today happen.
Well, I'm here. I was excited that you brought this date. I was like, okay, yes, I'm definitely in Austin. So
okay, you know, I'm excited. You, again, travels out of the city, out of the state, internationally.
Joe, I'm about to play with you.
Girl, you busy. Okay. So here at I Just Want to Tell Stories, the first thing I like to do is to tell people how we met.
Okay.
I remember how we met. This is the first for the season.
Okay.
So I do remember how we met. We were both consultants for the first Black Pride, Austin Black Pride.
Yes.
And that's how we met, at that meeting.
Oh, at the
Q.
At the Q, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And so, you know, somebody was a little late. It was not me. But I had never met you before, but I think I had heard about you before. Someone was like, you're a writer. And I remember we exchanged information after the meeting about just writing together, collaborating potentially. Mm-hmm. We have never done that.
Right. 4 years later.
We have
never done that.
We have never collaborated, but we've always supported.
Right. For sure.
Always support. Mm-hmm. So, Mr. TellTales, tell the people what you do. Because you do a lot, so I don't want to mess up your resume. I don't want the goons coming after me. You know, your people. So
my people's.
Your publicists, you know, your manager.
I'm actually looking for that right now.
Girl, see?
I mean, I'm just a black Afro-queer writer, performer, and mental health activist.
And so you have written a book.
I have written a book.
You are working on the sequel, I think. Or am I putting it out there? Like
I did announce on my podcast show that I'm actually not going to do the sequel first. I'm actually going to do the book I always wanted to do.
Okay.
So, which is kind of like this memoir-esque, but dealing with, you know, black, queer, and mental health.
Okay. And 2 episodes ago, we had your podcast co-host, Eric, episode 4, and then you are coming in now on episode 6. Mm-hmm. So it's What Works For Us podcast.
Yes.
Okay. Just to let the people know. And you also do What's in the Mirror.
I do.
And tell the folks about that.
So What's in the Mirror is a nonprofit that I started, 5-6 years ago. It is a social movement that provides mental health awareness and suicide prevention for communities of color through art and advocacy.
Yes.
Yes.
And that is, okay, wait, for the people, for the record, it has been 4 years and we have not collaborated. But I did hit up Tarik the other day and we are about to start working on an idea.
Okay.
And I'm actually going to talk to him after this is over. Off the air. But just know we are working on something. It's going to come. It's going to be amazing. Mm-hmm. It's going to be bomb pussy. And you can't curse on this podcast. Obviously, I just said bomb pussy.
Potty mouth.
Right. Where's the soap? Okay. And you also are a playwright. And I like to distinguish, like, playwright, author. I think it's a different medium. It's a different way you have to go about it. So you're a playwright too, and you have produced your plays here.
Yes.
And directed and worked with. Okay. Are you coming out with any more plays? I know you're releasing the counseling session.
Yes.
Soon.
Yes, I'm releasing the counseling session as for sale, so people can purchase the play and or read it online. But I am actually producing a play in August. I always produce a summer play, but it's not a play that I wrote this time around because like you said, the difference of being in the playwright world versus the author world. I have a play that I've been working on for a couple of years, and I still just haven't finished it because I switched over focusing on the books and stuff like an article. So you can't really do both. It's 2 different mindsets, right? And so I'm like, damn, I need a play, you know? I was like, and preferably a black queer play. Could have been, trans, woman, whatever. I just wanted the black queer experience. And that's kind of like exclusively what I try to produce in some kind of way. It don't have to be like the main characters have to be, black and queer, but it definitely have to have an element of, education and visibility, right? So I found this play called Fireflies from this, I don't know if you heard of this playwright, Don J. R. Love. He's out in New York.
I have not.
Yeah. So he has like this trilogy.
But shout out to you though.
Yeah, shout out to Don J. So this is my first time directing a play that I didn't write. So it's interesting. But
and it's in August. Is it here in Austin?
It is here in Austin. Okay. Promo will be out 2 weeks. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you ain't gotta say it because this episode has come out much later than when we were recording. Yeah. Okay. But we will let the folks know we always support. Mm-hmm. So let's go back. Multi-hyphenate author, playwright, activist. Let's go back to growing up. You grew up in Detroit.
Yes.
The other D.
The real D.
The real D is in Dallas. We'll say the other D. So you grew up in Detroit. What was it like growing up in Detroit?
I mean, my story is very similar from most black queer males that grew up in the inner city. It was rough. Broken family. I relied on my friends. I grew up in ballroom and stuff like that when I came out at 13 and stuff like that.
What categories did you walk?
Then I watched Schoolboy Realness.
Oh.
Yeah. Because I was literally still in school, right? So
it wasn't that far a departure from what I was doing. Okay.
And so, ballroom and all that is kind of what I grew up in versus, trying to, not be around family as much because family was not where I wanted to be, per se. So I had my ballroom family.
So how did that impact the art that you produced much later in life?
Well, I mean, I feel like as I got older and realized, now we're getting all this glory and representation for ballroom, right? Yeah. Ballroom is everywhere. Pose has put it on the map. Mm-hmm. Documentaries is popping up left and right. Girls is getting coins. I'm like, maybe I should get out there and walk Broadway and Vogue and give me an international coin.
Come on, Schoolboy Realness.
In Paris. They're ballrooms on this big scale, but I just, even before that, I wanted to make sure that we were still telling the stories where it can live on outside of just popularity. Are we doing, as a writer, it's important to preserve, history and preserve experiences through books and stuff like that. And so that's why it was very important for me to, that's how it impacted where I'm at now. Cause we got to get this on paper. We can't just be all in the glitz and glam of it. And then 30 years from now, we looking at video, but ain't no books for the young person to pick up and, behind us and read and stuff like that.
And read about the process too.
Yeah.
What was the very first piece of art or anything, a poem or anything that you produced? Or written, wrote, whatever. What was the first piece of art that you came up with?
Okay, so I was real, weird as a kid. So I remember, being, 12, 13, writing TV shows. I was obsessed with TV shows.
Okay.
And so, I remember being at my grandma's house and literally writing TV shows, whatever. I always wanted to.
What were your TV shows about?
It was, family. I think I had one called, Let's Stay Together. And it was, on this note, those little blue legal pads?
Yes.
Yeah, I took the whole, it was, episode 1, episode 2. And I always think about damn, where is that legal? That's probably some good shit.
Girl, let me find it so I can just keep. It's gonna be worth some money.
Okay. And so I think that was the first thing.
African American Culture Museum in DC soon. That's what I think.
Okay, well, look,
I'm speaking it into existence.
Yes.
Manifesting. So that was the first. You got into TV show writing at first.
Yeah, I was just very imaginative back then. I used to just write that kind of stuff and never even thought I was going to be a writer, right? So that wasn't even me trying to be a writer. It was just what I did to pass time.
When you were young? What did you imagine you were going to
do? International law, stuff like that. Yeah, so I went to school, even so I kind of stayed on the same field, my degree is in political science and international studies. So I knew I wanted to do kind of like in high school, like international law, I was like, girl, law is not for me. But politics,
Yeah.
nonprofit, that was always maybe politics or something like that. That was growing up, something in that field, right? And then I think I got to college, theater for the press became. So I always knew, like, even in college, I wanted to do, like, have a theater company that produced and did stuff for, like, marginalized communities.
Yeah.
But again, it's like a full circle. Like, I didn't really know I was going to do that, but as I go back to, like, college papers I wrote and theater classes I took, all right, what I'm doing now is what I was saying I was going to do, but never really connected the two. Yeah. It just happened. Like,
so when did the light switch come on?
Kind of when I moved to Austin. I feel like Austin, that's why I love Austin, because it was like actually my muse to actually start being an artist. I lived in Atlanta and I didn't do anything. Like when I graduated from college, I shut it all down. I wanted to party,
live your best life.
Live my best life. Got the out of college jobs. I wasn't really creating anything back then. When I moved to Austin, that was kind of like my mindset. Go somewhere where nobody knows you, right? And start over and really focus on the things that you always wanted to do. And so that's kind of how it happened.
So you went from Detroit to school, and I know where you went to school. You don't have to say.
Okay.
And then you went to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you came to Austin.
Yes.
So how did all of these places influence, or how do you incorporate all of these different people that you met into the art that you produce? Because you went to some very different places.
Yeah. And I think really all the different places helped me to be able to, like, okay, I grew up in Detroit, so I'm black as fuck, right?
Yeah.
Hood as fuck, have all those elements. Ain't no question about.
Come on now.
Then going to school, and that was a PWI, right? And so that was my first. I didn't want to go to HBCU. I had got accepted to HBCUs, but I specifically didn't want to go to one because I grew up in Detroit. I was like, I don't want to be around more black folks. I want to see what other people look like, because Detroit ain't diverse. It was all black. I didn't ever see white people really,
Well, now it's it may be a little bit different.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Gentrification is real.
Yeah. They wouldn't have scooped up all the pounds. Okay.
And so I wanted to go to a PWI. Then after that, I was like, I need to go back somewhere real black and real gay, right? Yeah. And so Atlanta, I took one bag and one bag.
You were not the bag lady.
I took one bag over the summer when I graduated and moved to Atlanta. Like, I'm starting a new life. I don't know what was going on.
I got a new attitude.
And so that helped me be here in a predominantly white city and be able to be a black queer person, to be able to identify with my history and how I grew up, but also how to navigate in this space that's predominantly white.
Yeah. Who are some of your mentors? Who are some of the people that you look up to?
Oh, that's a good question.
I've been getting that a lot today.
That's a good question. Well, more contemporary, like I met George Johnson in New York last weekend, and he's coming out with his first book, All Boys Are Blue. He's he works for most of the publications like Huffington Post. He does articles and stuff like that. Then he's coming out with a book with this major, publishing company and stuff like that. And so when I look at it to like, well, if I ask myself like, what is it? What does it look like for you? Like, what do you want? To obtain real soon, not something like 10 years from now, like maybe a year or two from now. I feel like he's a really good representation. I like his articles. I like what he writes about. Darnell Moore is another one. So it's a lot of black queer academia people that I'm really experiencing their work and really experiencing how they're navigating through, what it is to be a black queer writer, and then definitely the activist part, right? Because I don't think you can separate the two right now.
Right.
Like, if you're writing about something that ain't important.
I mean, Q.
Yeah.
It's girl, we got some shit to do.
We got shit to do. And so I feel like that's, those just to name a few. Of course, like, historically, James Baldwin. Yeah. Historically, the story of Elan Harris, how he was able to sell books out of his, like, he was my inspiration with my first book. Like, I didn't need a major publishing. I'm going to do self-publish if Elan Harris can.
Girl, and you are selling these books. You are selling
I'm pushing them.
What's the name of the book?
No Bond So Strong.
Okay, and where can people buy it?
You can buy it at MrTellTales.com.
Okay, come on that website.
MisterTellTales. But of course, Barnes & Nobles and Amazon.
Yeah. It's a good book. We'll get to that in a minute. I do have a question. So one of the things I'm fascinated by when I talk to creatives is the process. People do not see, they see the product, they do not see the process, which can be a lot. So when you get a new idea, to create, what is the first thing that happens? So what are the first things that happen after that?
And then, so I'm right in that process, right? I'm like specifically in that process right now because I'm working on this new book that I was just said. So I feel like for me now, growing and knowing better is really changing my lifestyle. That's the first thing. I can't write if I'm not focused. Yeah. And so I have to figure out what does that look like? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, do I need to start going to the gym and where I can stimulate my mind, and then, you know, and do I need to stop going out and stop being a social butterfly as much? And, you know, those things is first. So like this week, for example, I didn't do anything Monday through Thursday. I went out last night. But, you know, usually I would, you know, dip, you know, the vent here, or you know, try to, you know, what I say, kiss babies and shake hands.
Yeah, you got to do that when you're creative.
Yeah, you got to network.
When you are creative and having your own project.
Yeah. And so I feel like that's the first thing I do, figure out where the focus is. And once I get like a sense of focus and like write everything out and really have it in my mind, then I can begin to start. So like I've written like the first 10 pages, right? But that's really me figuring out my rhythm. You have to find
a rhythm and a routine.
A rhythm and a routine, because otherwise you're gonna be all over the place.
So do you write like a what is that, like a skeleton of like what you want to do? Do you just get to the computer? Do you even use a computer? Like some people write by hand. I don't know how to do that.
I write by hand.
Oh, girl.
Well, I do a little bit of both.
Okay.
I do a little bit of both because a lot of ideas sometimes come to me. I feel like being strictly to the computer limits my thought process a little bit.
That makes sense.
And it takes me, like, when I'm writing by hand, I can write 10, 20 pages. Yeah. I'm typing, I'm stuck on the first 3 pages because I'm looking at what it looked like, and I'm not really just writing. I'm actually editing and writing all at the same time, and I shouldn't, right? And I haven't been able to master that, like to just look at the computer screen and just go do and not pay attention. I'm looking at the red line. I'm looking at the
everything, and it's like, girl, Microsoft Word, stop here.
You know, I'm looking at it. Should be a tab here about the next paragraph? But if I'm writing by hand, I'm not looking at any of that. That's just me just writing. So I like to journal. Like I have a journal. So I journal everything. I went to the store. I recorded the podcast today. I journal. I try to do it every day.
You really try to document kind of like what you're doing to preserve it, like for the future. Or just to do it for sanity.
I think sanity for me to know, and then when I go back, and so it's like a what I'm doing and what I need to do type of thing. Like my little journal, I carry it everywhere with me in my book bag, and it really, I go back through the pages and be like, oh shit, I didn't do this, you know what I'm saying? Because I have it on my list on Monday, here it is Saturday, and I'm like, damn, I forgot this. So it really helps me to stay on track, but it helps me process the stuff. I like journaling. It's you know, therapeutic in that way.
So do you come up with like a process for every piece of thing that you create?
Well, my process.
Keep you on track.
And so normally, like, so playwriting, what I typically always did, I had these, like, I'm old school, like back in the day, I buy me a new Mead one subject notebook. Yeah. And each one, so any new project or new play or new idea, I could buy. I literally get excited and I go buy me a new little one subject notebook, and I might write whatever that project is, like, you know, on the white part, and then I create. And so I have like 10 of those Mead notebooks things that I've had over the years of, like, so the counseling session it's all written out on this in a subject notebook, you know. Rhodes University, anything I've ever written as far as playwriting is all written out. But I can't do that now per se. I've learned that write everything out by head, you know, it's good, but it's not good. So I balance it. So I don't really get the new notebook. I might just write it out and then I gotta type it. I need to see how many words I have. You know?
Yeah, I get that.
I can't spend all year writing and then type it. It'll take forever.
Girl, transcribing your notes. It's like, what was this word?
Bad handwriting.
Right, girl. Yeah. And that's what I feel like when I would write. I would be like, what did I just write down? And I hate when, because being a creative, things come to you at a moment's notice, and you have to like document that right then so you can like have it to go back to it later. I remember waking up one time out of a dream, and I was like, oh, that's a good like line for a piece. And I wrote it down, went back to sleep, woke up, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck I just wrote. I have no idea.
Oh,
so I've been trying to do like more voice memos so I can like hear myself and like do the cadence and stuff like that. So I appreciate people who can write that stuff down. I am definitely a computer person now. Specifically Google Documents. Okay. That's what I used to organize. Because I'm all over the place. But what is the one thing that you have always wanted to create that you have not created yet?
The one thing,
like your dream project.
I would say it's the play that hasn't came out yet.
The ones you've been working on.
Yeah. It is ballroom related.
Yeah.
But now the Pose, so it's kind of like this thing like Pose is out now and everything is ballroom, but I still feel like it's a piece that's we need. So I would say that. Oh God, that's a good question.
What do you think like is the reason why it's not finished yet?
Because it's that important to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that important to me. So it has to be ready.
Yeah.
And it has to. I really want it to be big, and so I don't know if it can in the space that I produce. I'm usually do black box theater, and I'm not sure that right now where I'm at as far as funding and stuff like that I can do it on the scale that I would want to do it on. So maybe I have to keep pushing to another level to get that real coin.
Selling some more books.
Yeah.
TellTales.com.
And I can produce
No bond, so strong. Well, let's go to the book. So I read the book. And we have talked about the book, offline. I did not think the book was going to be that intense. It was very intense. So where did the idea to write the book come from?
Well, I just felt like it was the lack of books for young black queer to pick up and read, whether it's tragedy or triumph. It's nothing there. Like once you get past Elan Harris, once you've done all your due diligence to James Baldwin, maybe a little, James Earl Hardy, B-Boy Blues, that you're kind of, if you're not interested in reading academia, you're kind of stuck for.
Yeah. There's not a lot out there.
It's not a lot out there for pleasure versus academia. And so I felt like that's why I was very adamant. Like now I'm trying to do this, mental health, but I was very adamant that I wanted to create a story, you know what I'm saying, that people could relate to, hood stuff.
Throw it in there, bitch.
Yeah, and so, so a 15-year-old growing up in, Oakland, California can pick the book up, be like, wow, this is going on, and whether they're looking at it like I've experienced this or like, oh, this is what black queer culture can be like in urban city. And so that was why it was very important to tell that kind of story first.
There are 4 main characters in the book. So which character do you feel like you most relate to?
Well, I feel like definitely I told the story from the perspective of Trayvon, and Trayvon would have been, he's a little version of me to a certain degree, but I named it Trayvon after Trayvon Martin, and all of this, writing, you have to all
exclusive, folks, an exclusive.
And so he was, so he's the one that the voice of the story.
And are there other characters based on other people in your life?
Every character is based on someone that I know, but it's not necessarily like one person.
Right.
I wanted to tell the whole experience, so it could have been the nigga I knew 2 blocks over, and he had his, push his mama down the stairs. It's all like, it's you in the book. You in the book.
And you in the book.
Right.
You in the book. And this experience in the book.
Yeah.
Okay. And it was, I thought it did a really good job of telling specific stories and bringing up some specific things that we don't talk about, like body, I don't want to say body shaming, but like feeling confident and comfortable in your body. And then a little bit of like, I think it was Robert, was it the kind of like plus size character? Using men as a way to try to find validation in ourselves a little bit, or a lot bit, because girl, I don't want to give too much away in the book, but it was like searching for that validation. So what made you want to bring these issues to the forefront when you wrote the book?
Well, I mean, it was issues that I seen. It was people that I knew that was living these experiences. And again, if we don't tell these stories, then what if it's someone else in that same position, or then they read it like, well, damn, am I doing this? You know what I'm saying? Like, if I buy niggas cars, for some dick,
And I definitely know some people that did that.
Right. And again, we might kiki about it, but let's write it. Let's talk about it, because it is real. People don't mind selling their bodies or, buying dick.
Cars, yeah.
Buying folks' cars.
They don't mind.
And going broke doing it, right? Right. And we ain't talking about the rich people
That's
doing
the sequel. Yeah, that's the part 2 of the story.
Well, on your mama credit.
Girl, let's not get too much into it because somebody's mad at us right now. Are you technically trained in anything that you do?
Trained?
Like technically, did you go?
Well, I went to I did took up theater,
Okay.
so I took theater. I didn't major in it with my minor, so but only because I didn't want to take theater history.
Yeah.
I didn't want to read about a bunch of old white theater, so I didn't.
Come on, Shakespeare, bye.
Right.
To be or not to be, girl,
Right.
not.
Yeah.
So, how do you? Let's say someone growing up, and I don't know if we've talked about this, but I know we talk about like trying to be representation for like folks who are younger. Someone's growing up, they don't have access to maybe theater class, they didn't go to school. What are some ways that they can like still be creative, still find how to do their craft, but on the budget, bitch?
On the budget. I definitely feel like the way I did it, like, so I didn't go through theater through like college. I mean, I did it in college, then this long break.
Yeah.
So really, my entry into like producing and stuff is community theater, right? It's not right off. I don't have an MFA. I'm not. My next play isn't being read in front of my class and stuff like that. So I wasn't producing then in school. So I just got the training there. Then you're talking about 10, 12 years. So I feel like community theater, you have access to your community, and I feel like someone who's writing, someone who's not in school, I mean, you don't really, the training when it comes to creating art is really just doing the work.
Yeah.
You're just doing the work. I mean, I could teach you anything, and like, again, I went to school in theater and didn't do any theater for almost a decade. So it's like, bitch, you ain't doing nothing. Yeah. So it's really just doing the, you know what I'm saying? Like, bitch, can you act? Like, bitch, can you do theater administration? So I think that's the idea. If you really want to do it, don't let the training in creating is doing it. Yeah. So go to your community theater. Go like see what it's money. Every major city or even small cities has community theaters. True. Have money, tax money, get those grants. It's there. You gotta
search, bitch.
Yeah, it's there, and I would say community theater.
It is definitely one of the things I've noticed in being a creative. It's hard work because you may work a full-time job, may work a part-time job, and then you gotta create at night. I mean, I was texting Cam this week at like 10 o'clock at night, and I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry for the text messages, but this is the only time I can create." And people don't realize like the work that you have to put in outside of social life. You may be in a relationship, maybe booed up. You got to give time to that, girl. It's a lot. So how do you? What is one thing you would tell a new creative, regardless of age? 50 or 5. Well, not 5, 15. Let's say 15 or 50. On just the amount of work to prepare them for this world. If they really are true, they want to make this their craft. Yeah.
Well, kind of going back to what I said, get centered, because like you said, it is. I was in rehearsals to 12 o'clock the other night, right? You know what I'm saying? After working all day and meeting, in rehearsals to 12 o'clock, then gotta go to bed, then gotta get back up at, 7 to start the day over again. So, like you said, if you're working and creating, the days are long. Like, my days do not end when I clock out at 5 o'clock. That's the first day has ended.
Right.
After that, the AM day. Yeah. After that, it's a whole nother day. It's almost like being creative and working. You have multiple days in one day.
And then you have to go and kiss the hands and kiss the hands. Yeah. Shake the hands and kiss the babies.
Kiss the baby, like you said, your relationship. You might have to make sure home is right. And then you're writing, you're thinking, you're creating.
All over the place emotionally.
And so that's why I would say you really have to figure out what I admire by a lot of people that I'm meeting, this whole centered thing, this whole, like whether it's yoga, whether it's, I don't know, just how the Zen and, being connected. Self-care and being really intentional. I feel like a lot of times we're not intentional about things that can actually help us stay focused. And that's when I'm like trying to drink my teas, I got coffee today. But just those things, supplements, just those things that you can intentionally do, like, hey, I have to do this if I want to stay at this pace. Yeah. Because you can crash. you can crash.
Yeah, we done been there before, child.
Right.
Don't crash. Don't crash.
So you gotta be intentional though, because you gonna crash. If you ain't intentional about it, you gonna crash. Ain't nobody perfect.
It's gonna catch up to you.
Yeah, it's gonna catch up to you. So you have to be intentional about staying, on a certain focus level.
Well, Mr. TellTales, this is the last question I'm going to ask.
Uh-oh.
So we do this every episode. We do top 5 in no specific order, but I just give a random category.
Okay.
And since you are an internationally known traveler, bitches know about you in London. The category is top 5 again.
Okay.
Category is cities. So tell us your top 5 cities that you've ever been to. For, any specific reason, little thought trip, little work trip, whatever. Top 5 cities.
I'm gonna say hands down, New Orleans is my favorite city.
Okay. We approve that message.
Yeah. I say New York.
Okay.
I feel kind of cliche. It's going to be all like the major black cities, right? New York. Let me be clear. So, New Orleans, I'm going to say Detroit. I don't be rude to my city.
Okay.
Just because I was born there. So, New Orleans, Detroit, New York, Atlanta.
And one more.
One more. What did I say? I'm trying to be like, I don't want to say Austin, but I would say Austin. I'm just going to put Austin because what Austin has been to me.
Okay. So New Orleans.
New
York.
Yeah.
Atlanta, Detroit, and Austin.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Tell the
Congratulations on your show.
Oh, thank you, girl. We're 6 episodes in, and you're the first person that told me that. So thank you. Thank you. I don't know what the fuck these other bitches been doing, but thank you, bitch.
You gotta give people roses.
Right. And I do like flowers. I kill tulips, so don't give me those, but I do like flowers, roses preferably. All my exes know that.
Okay. I've seen a few of them bring you some.
Oh, girl, okay. Let's end the show now. All right, where can the people find you?
MrTellTales.com, MrTellTales on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
All right.
Yeah, Mr. TellTales.
Thank you so much, and love and light, everyone. See you next episode.
Holla.
I Just Want to Tell Stories is hosted by Joe Anderson Jr. for the Mahogany Project and produced by Cameron Hawkins for the South Congress Podcast Network.